Yes, epistemology. Epistemology is a study of knowledge, study of how do we acquire knowledge and what is knowledge really. In epistemology, there are three main types of knowledge. Yes, there are three main types of knowledge. Not every knowledge is equal. Not every knowledge is the same. While every knowledge can be valid in its own sphere, not every knowledge can be defined the same way. When I say this, it might sound strange, but if you think about it, which is one of the things that philosophy forces us to do, is really think. Because philosophy asks the question, is it the same to say, I know Sam, while saying, I know how to play the guitar, and also, I know that the sun is hot? Are those three the same sort of knowing? Well, the reality is no. When I say I know Sam, I know the person, I know a few things about him, I am acquainted with him. That is what is referred to as acquaintance knowledge. Knowledge about someone. You have a knowledge of what they are, who they are, their character, and you are able to determine several things about them. Then there is knowledge of how to play the guitar. That is referred to as knowledge of how to. Knowledge of how to play musical instruments. And this type of knowledge refers to practical knowledge. I know how to play football. It means that you possess the various skills that make you competent in that particular area. A perfect example of this is when somebody says, I know how to bake the cake. Not only do they know the recipe, but they know also certain of the little nuances that need to be done in order to make sure the cake comes off well. You know, I'll tell you a secret. I'm pretty good at reading. I can read down the ingredients. I can read out the directions for making the cake. But when I mix a cake and when a real proper cake baker mixes the same cake, puts it into the oven, it comes out different. Is it that I did not read the instructions or follow them, the directions correctly? Not necessarily. But I'm just not a very good cake baker. And then after that, I know that the sun is hot. I possess the knowledge of what is referred to as propositional knowledge. I have evidence and proofs that can bring me a verifiable or justified information that this is actually so. And there are various things that we can know in propositional knowledge. Now, mark you, and this is the key thing. Propositional knowledge is the main type of knowledge studied by most epistemologists. And propositional knowledge is thought to be the thing that we discuss the most, simply because the other two types of knowledge are not the things that we study academically. Think about it again. As I said, philosophy invites us to think. When we go to school, do we want to know the teacher, or do we want to know about the things the teacher teaches? And many of the things the teacher teaches, unless it is a very practical subject, and even for the practical subjects, there are many theoretical concepts that need to be learned. So for example, even when we're doing biology, yes, there are experiments, experimental component, but most of the biology course is spent studying the theories that will guide you in the experiment. So really and truly, we end up having to know propositional knowledge in order to do the practical stuff, even in those subject areas. In a sense, our educational system is built on propositional knowledge. The idea that we can know things that can be tested to see if we have acquired knowledge. But then, with a propositional knowledge there, the question is then asked, how do we define propositional knowledge? How do we define knowledge? Join us in our next video as we explore the idea of what is knowledge and how can knowledge be defined, and are there any challenges to the definition of knowledge?